Welcome to the Taste China Learn English Deep Dive.
Hello, everyone.
So imagine, for just a second, trying to run a full marathon.
Oh, wow. A marathon is hard enough on its own.
Right. But there's a catch here. You have to run this entire marathon while breathing through a tiny plastic straw.
That sounds impossible. You would just run out of breath immediately.
Exactly. And, on top of that, the wind blowing against your face is completely freezing.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
we are talking well below 0 degrees.
I mean, I would be absolutely freezing
Yeah.
and just totally exhausted.
Right. So think about this. What kind of food would you need to eat just to survive that kind of day?
Well, it definitely wouldn't be like a light garden salad, that is for sure.
No, definitely not a salad.
I mean, your body would be screaming for the most efficient, dense fuel possible.
Yes, exactly. And that extreme scenario, it's basically daily life on the roof of the world.
Right, the roof of the world.
Yeah. Today, we are traveling to Tibet, which is known in Chinese as Shijiawugi.
It is such an incredible place.
It really is. We are exploring traditional Tibetan cuisine today, or Zankai.
Oh, wonderful.
And our mission on this deep dive is to discover how this food acts as the ultimate survival soul food.
Because it really is perfectly adapted to one of the harshest environments on the planet.
It is. And of course, for you listening at home, we're going to pick up some really fantastic English vocabulary along the way.
I love that. It is a fascinating region to study.
Yeah,
Yeah, because before we can even talk about what the people in Tibet are eating, we really have to talk about where they are eating it.
that makes sense.
The environment dictates absolutely everything on the menu.
Right. And that brings up a really important concept we need to understand first. And that is our first vocabulary word,
Oh, what is it?
altitude.
Ah, yes, altitude.
We use the word altitude to talk about how high a place is compared to the level of the ocean.
Right. So the ocean is essentially zero.
Exactly. The ocean is 0. And Tibet is sitting at a massive altitude. We're talking thousands of meters above that 0 baseline.
And, understanding altitude is really the key to understanding the food.
Why is that?
Because when you go to a very high altitude, the physical world actually changes.
Like the air.
Yes, the air pressure drops, the air becomes incredibly thin.
Okay.
That means with every single breath you take, your lungs are getting much less oxygen than they would down at sea level.
So it really is like trying to breathe through a tiny straw,
It is exactly like that. So
Yeah.
your body has to work overtime.
just existing up there. I
Yeah.
mean, just standing up or walking across a room that must burn calories like crazy.
It really does.
So I imagine that moving across deep snow in the mountains demands an incredible amount of stamina.
Yes, stamina. That is the perfect word here.
It is a great word for our listeners to learn.
Definitely. Stamina is the physical and mental strength you need to keep going for a very long period of time.
So it is not just a quick burst of energy.
No, not at all. You aren't just sprinting for 5 minutes. You need the stamina to walk through freezing winds all day long.
It is almost like a furnace inside your body.
A furnace.
Yeah.
That is a good way to picture it.
If you want to keep the fire burning and maintain that stamina, you need to throw in some really serious fuel.
Because your internal engine is fighting against the cold and it's fighting against the lack of oxygen.
Exactly.
So your metabolism really has to adapt.
Right.
So the local diet, Zangkai, has evolved over centuries. And it did not evolve to look pretty on a plate,
No, it is all about survival.
Right. It is designed to provide deep, slow-burning energy. The people living there figured out the perfect biological balance long before modern nutritional science even existed.
Which brings us to the foundation of their diet.
Yes, the core ingredient.
Right. If you need fuel to build stamina, you have to look at the holy grain of Tibet.
Oh, we are talking about their main staple food.
Yes, a food called tsampa or zenba in Chinese.
Samba is everywhere in Tibet.
It really is. And for our listeners, a staple food is simply the main item that a culture eats almost every single day. Right. Like in Southeast Asia, the staple food is usually rice.
Yep. And in many Western countries, it's wheat like in bread.
Exactly. But high up in the mountains, rice and wheat simply will not grow.
The environment is just too tough.
Yeah, the growing season is way too short and it is simply too cold.
So they rely on a really tough plant instead, called highland barley.
Right, highland barley.
But, they don't just harvest the barley and boil it in water. They prepare it in a very clever way.
They do. The barley is roasted.
Roasted. That is
Oh.
another great vocabulary word.
It is. The roasting process is crucial here. When a food is roasted, it means it is cooked using dry heat.
Like over a fire.
Yes, usually over an open fire or in a really hot pan.
Okay, that makes sense.
Think about roasted coffee beans, right? You apply dry heat, and it actually changes the chemical structure of the food.
Now, I actually have a theory about this.
Oh, let's hear it.
Boiling water at a high altitude is actually really difficult, right?
Yes, it is.
Because there is less air pressure, water boils at a much lower temperature.
Exactly.
So the boiling water isn't actually hot enough to easily cook raw grains. Is that why they roast the barley first?
That is a huge part of it.
Oh, really?
Yes. If you try to boil raw barley at 4,000 meters above sea level, you will be waiting a very long time.
And it might still be hard and tough to eat.
Exactly. By roasting the barley grains over a fire first, you are essentially pre-cooking them.
Ah, there you go.
Then they grind those roasted grains down into a fine flour. It is a brilliant adaptation to the physics of their environment.
That makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's roasted with that dry heat, it completely changes the flavor profile too.
It does.
The sources we looked at describe the taste of Sampa as being very nutty.
Yes, a nutty flavor. And just to be clear for everyone listening, there are absolutely no nuts in the recipe.
Right, no peanuts or walnuts in the actual flour.
None. But the heat creates a chemical reaction that gives the grain a rich, earthy taste.
So it just tastes very similar to toasted almonds or walnuts.
Exactly. It's a very warm, comforting flavor.
Okay, so you have this bag of roasted nutty barley flour,
Right.
but you don't just eat dry powder out of a bowl. That would be terrible.
No, you would choke on it.
Yeah. The way you eat Sampa is highly interactive.
It really is.
You have to mix the dry flour with a liquid, and you do the mixing entirely with your bare hands.
Yes. You need it.
It's a very physical process, isn't it?
Very physical. You pour a little bit of hot liquid into the bowl with the flour, and you use your fingers to press, fold, and roll the mixture together.
And that pressing motion is what we call kneading in English.
Right. You keep kneading it until it forms a solid, slightly sticky ball of dough.
It sounds essentially like making your own fresh DIY energy ball right there in the palm of your hand.
That is a great way to describe it.
Instead of buying a heavily processed protein bar wrapped in plastic, you are basically crafting a fresh lump of pure fuel.
And because it's made from the complex carbohydrates of the barley, it is an incredibly hearty food.
Hearty. I love that word. Hearty is one of my favorite words for food.
It is a very descriptive word.
When a meal is hearty, it means it is completely satisfying. It is substantial.
Right. It's the exact opposite of eating a light, airy cracker that leaves you hungry 10 minutes later.
Exactly. Hearty food fills your stomach. It digests slowly, and it actually makes you feel warm from the inside out.
That is so important up in the mountains.
It is. When you eat a hearty ball of Sampa, those complex carbohydrates release energy very slowly into your bloodstream.
Which is exactly what gives you the constant stamina you need to trek through the snow.
Okay, but we have to talk about the liquid they use to make the Sampa dough.
Ah, yes. The liquid is key.
You can't just mix flour with cold water up there. You need something special.
Very special.
And in Tibet, that special liquid is an incredibly famous drink. It's butter tea, or suyucha.
Butter tea is amazing. It is often referred to as liquid gold in this region.
Liquid gold, wow.
Yeah, it is the absolute lifeblood of the high altitude diet.
But I think we need to offer a warning here to our listeners.
Oh, definitely. A big warning.
If you are traveling and you have never been to Tibet, the word tea might actually trick you.
It will definitely trick you if you aren't prepared.
Because when most people think of tea, they think of something sweet, right?
Right. They expect a spoonful of sugar, maybe some honey, or even a slice of fruit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you expect a sweet drink when you try butter tea, you are in for a massive shock.
I can imagine.
Tibetan butter tea contains no sugar at all. It is very, very salty.
Honestly, hearing that, it sounds less like a standard cup of tea and much more like a broth.
Broth. That is a really great comparison.
Yeah.
Yes. For our
Yeah.
learners, a broth is essentially a savory, salty soup.
Like chicken broth or beef broth.
Exactly. It's the flavorful liquid you get when you simmer meat or vegetables in water for a long time.
Got it.
Butter tea has that exact same comforting, salty, savory quality to it.
Which again makes perfect biological sense to me.
Yep.
Well, if you are constantly breathing heavily in that thin air and you are carrying heavy loads up a mountain, your body is losing a lot of water and a lot of sodium.
You are sweating, even if you are cold.
Exactly. So drinking a salty broth replaces those lost electrolytes much better than a sugary sweet drink ever would.
Precisely. It is a very smart hydration strategy.
But it's not just salty water, is it?
Oh no, it has a very specific texture because of the main ingredient, which is yak butter.
Okay, for those who might not know, a yak is a massive, very hairy animal. It looks a bit like a really large cow.
Yes, very hairy. They are native to the high mountains and they are incredibly well adapted to the freezing cold.
And their milk is very rich in fat, right?
Extremely rich. The Tibetans churn that rich milk into yak butter, and then they mix a very generous amount of that butter directly into the hot, salty tea.
And they blend it all together.
Yes, they blend it vigorously. And because of all that rich fat, the tea becomes intensely creamy.
Creamy, meaning it's thick, smooth, and very rich. It's not watery at all. It actually has weight to it in your mouth.
Yes, it coats your tongue. The creamy texture provides immediate high-density calories.
Because fat has a lot of energy.
Right. Remember, fat contains more than double the energy per gram compared to carbohydrates.
Wow, gobble.
So when you drink this creamy tea, you are basically flooding your system with the instant fuel needed to generate body heat.
Now, here is the part of the deep dive that completely blew my mind when we were researching this.
That's the skincare part.
Yes. The fat in the tea isn't just about calories and internal body heat.
No, it has another job.
It serves a very practical external purpose as well.
Right.
It acts like a literal inside-out skincare routine against the harsh weather.
It really does. Think about the physical conditions again for a second.
Okay.
You are at a very high altitude. The air lacks moisture, so it is super dry, and the wind is fierce and freezing.
Sounds painful.
It is. When your face is exposed to that environment, your skin dries out almost instantly,
Right.
specifically your lips. They easily become chapped.
Chapped. That is a great word for our listeners. Having chapped lips is incredibly painful.
It's the worst.
When your lips are chapped, the skin gets so dry that it cracks, it peels, and sometimes it even bleeds.
Right. And, you aren't going to find a pharmacy selling little plastic tubes of lip balm on a snowy mountain pass.
No, definitely not.
But the amazing thing is, you don't need one.
Because of the tea.
Exactly. When you drink the hot, creamy butter tea, the rich yak fat naturally leaves a thick coating on your lips.
It's essentially a physical barrier.
Yes.
The fat from the creamy tea physically blocks the freezing wind from pulling the moisture out of your skin.
Exactly. It naturally prevents your lips from getting chapped.
That is just brilliant.
You are getting your hydration, your calories, your internal warmth, and your external skin protection, all from a single cup of salty broth.
It really highlights how deeply connected the people are to their environment.
They utilize every single property of the food.
Okay, so we have covered the slow-burning carbohydrates from the hearty Sampa.
Yeah.
And we have covered the instant heat and fat from the creamy butter tea.
Right.
But if you are trekking across mountains all day, you are also breaking down muscle tissue, right?
Yes. Physical exertion destroys muscle.
So you definitely need protein to repair your body.
You absolutely do. To survive up there, maintaining muscle mass is critical.
Okay.
And for that, the diet relies heavily on local meat, usually from a yak or a sheep.
Now, wait, I am actually really confused here.
What's confusing?
Well, we just established that the extreme cold demands massive amounts of fat, right? Which is why they drink the butter tea.
Right, they need the fat for energy.
So I would naturally assume that they want their meat to be as fatty as possible, too.
That is a logical assumption.
But the sources we read point out that the meat they prepare is actually incredibly lean.
Yes, it is very lean.
Why would they choose lean meat? Shouldn't they be hunting for the fattiest cuts of meat to survive the cold?
That is a really great question. And it actually comes down to the science of food preservation.
Preservation, like keeping it from going bad.
Exactly. You are right that they need fat to survive, but fat is actually very difficult to preserve without a modern refrigerator.
Oh, really?
Yes. If you leave animal fat out at room temperature, it spoils very quickly. It goes rancid and it tastes terrible and it can make you sick.
Ah, okay. So the word lean for our listeners means meat that contains almost zero fat.
Right.
It is basically pure muscle protein.
Exactly. Because it's pure protein, lean meat is much easier to preserve using natural methods.
I see.
And in Tibet, they use a traditional method where the lean meat is air dried.
Air dried. So they literally just like hang the lean meat outside in the open air.
They do. They cut the lean meat into strips and just hang it up outside during the winter months.
Wow.
Now, if you did that in a hot, humid jungle, the meat would just rot instantly.
Obviously, yeah.
But remember, the environment of the roof of the world, the air up there is freezing cold and is completely dry.
So it's basically a natural freeze-drying machine.
That is exactly what it is. The extreme cold and the dry wind slowly pull all of the moisture out of the lean meat.
And because there is no water left inside the meat, bacteria cannot grow.
Right. And because there is no fat, it doesn't go rancid.
That is amazing.
It is. The meat is perfectly preserved for months or even years without any electricity at all.
But, you know, the texture must change drastically.
Definitely.
If all the water is gone, it can't be soft like a fresh cooked steak.
No, it is not soft at all. Air-dried meat is notoriously tough. It is very chewy.
So you really have to work your jaw to eat it.
You do, but the payoff is totally worth it.
Why is that?
Because you have removed the heavy water, what you are left with is a highly concentrated, very lightweight piece of pure protein.
Ah, so it's easy to carry.
Exactly. It's like a pocket-sized powerhouse. You can carry months' worth of protein in a small bag on your back.
That is so efficient.
And actually, there's another benefit. The physical act of chewing that tough, air-dried meat for a long time actually generates internal body heat.
Just from chewing.
Just from chewing. Which is just another amazing survival benefit.
So it really is a perfectly balanced system.
Is.
They get their essential fats from the yak milk in the tea, where it can be consumed fresh every day.
Right.
And they get their protein from the lean, air-dried meat, which can be stored basically forever.
Yes.
They have essentially cracked the code of extreme survival using only exactly what nature provided them.
It's a beautiful, self-sustaining loop. Nothing goes to waste. And as we've seen, every single item serves multiple purposes.
It really makes you rethink what we consider advanced food today, you know?
It really does.
But before we wrap up today's journey, let's make sure our listeners have really locked in the new English vocabulary we explored today.
Good idea.
Let's do a natural recap of the words that describe this extreme lifestyle.
Okay, well, the foundation of it all is the altitude.
Right. Altitude.
We're talking about the extreme height above sea level, where the air is very thin and the oxygen is low.
Which means you need incredible stamina.
Stamina, yes.
The long-lasting physical energy to keep your body moving through the snow and the cold.
And to get that stamina, you need fuel that is hearty.
Hardy.
Food that is substantial, heavy, and totally satisfying, like a solid ball of dough.
And that dough is made from barley that has been roasted over a fire,
Roasted, exactly.
which gives it a rich, warm, nutty flavor.
Nutty.
similar to the taste of toasted almonds or walnuts.
Then you mix that flour with a salty, savory broth,
Broth.
liquid soup.
And that broth is incredibly creamy thanks to the thick yak butter.
Creamy, very rich and smooth.
Right. And that rich fat actually protects your skin from the harsh wind, stopping your lips from getting painfully chapped.
Chapped, dry and cracked.
And finally, to rebuild the muscles after a long walk, you need protein that is lean
Lean, meaning it has almost no fat at all.
so that it can be perfectly preserved when it is air dried by the freezing mountain wind.
Air dried, dried outside in the natural wind.
Altitude, stamina, hearty, roasted, nutty, broth, creamy, chapped, lean, and air dried.
Those are 10 incredibly useful words.
They are, not just for talking about Tibet, but really for describing any intense outdoor adventure or culinary experience in English.
They are very descriptive words. They really help you feel the environment we are talking about.
They really do. And, as we look at this perfectly adapted ancient diet, it leaves me with a really interesting question.
What's that?
Well, today, modern infrastructure is slowly bringing convenience foods into these high-altitude areas, right?
Oh, yes. You can probably buy a packaged candy bar or a bag of potato chips in some of the mountain towns now.
Right. Globalization reaches everywhere eventually.
It does.
But what happens to the human body when you replace hearty sampa and creamy butter tea with processed sugar and empty modern carbs?
Whoa, that is a big question.
If this ancient diet was the precise biological key to surviving the extreme altitude, I wonder if modern convenience food will actually make it harder for future generations to maintain their stamina up there.
It feels like replacing premium survival gear with cheap plastic, honestly. It is a profound thought. When you disrupt a diet that is that perfectly evolved for its specific environment, there are bound to be consequences for the people living there.
Definitely something for all of us to chew on.
Absolutely.
But for now, we want to leave you, our listener, with one final image.
Okay, picture this.
Imagine yourself traveling to Lhasa, the famous capital city of Tibet.
You have just finished a long, exhausting trek through the mountains.
You find a quiet spot to sit outside. You take a slow, deep breath of that thin air.
You lift a warm bowl to your mouth, feeling the heat radiate into your cold hands.
You take a slow sip of that thick, creamy butter tea.
You feel the rich fat naturally coating your lips against the cold wind.
And you just sit there enjoying the bright, warm sunshine on your face.
How satisfying would that salty broth taste in that exact moment?
When your body knows it is exactly what you need to survive.
I think it would be the best thing you have ever tasted in your life. Tashi Delek.
Tashi Delek, thank you so much for joining us on this English learning journey today. If you enjoyed discovering the survival soul food of Tibet, and if you liked learning these new vocabulary words with us, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We will see you on the next deep dive.